I don't care, or something to the effect. I'm pretty sure you said I don't give a fuck, but
And then we were just arguing back and forth. Then you called me over at one
right,
point, and
right.
then we were just talking. And then I can't remember exactly what happened at the end, but we were just talking for that little period of time. And then I think the next day I was like I said hi or something like that to you, just like
Right.
because I never did that before.
I always thought in the beginning that you hated my ass. Like in the beginning. Welcome back to another episode of We're Still Dreaming, a Tito Daydreaming podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have another one of my founding original students, now adults, on the pod. We are here to reflect, to reminisce, to dream, and to imagine. Today, I have Juan Tovar, a proud Mexican American college student studying electrical engineering, born and raised in the vibrant hashtag best city in the world, Chicago. Passionate about innovation, hands on learning, and representation in STEM, Juan draws inspiration from his roots and community to push boundaries in his field. He's currently focused on exploring on how emerging technologies like nanotechnology can be used to improve healthcare systems and electrical infrastructure. A note for me is that Tovar is different from the first few guests I had because Tovar came in my second year, but I did have him in my homeroom in sixth grade and seventh grade, but also taught him in eighth grade in English language arts. To me, Tovar has always been the humorous, gentle leader. Coined the nickname Tovar Superstar by Mrs. Martinez early on, showcased his leadership in sports, in my classroom, and amongst his peers. Always proud of where he came from, he centered it as a part of his story. Always talked about being a part of a business person or FBI or NASA. And it's been an incredible journey to see how his dreams have unfolded. So, welcome to the podcast, Juan Tovar.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good. Tovar, tell us how's it going before we get started? Tell us
Yeah.
what's going on, how's it going, how are you feeling with everything going on? How are you feeling overall?
So right now, pretty good. I'm working as an intern, application engineer intern
Yeah,
at G&W Electric. So most of my time is basically working there Monday through Friday. There's not really a time schedule. Only have to work 8 hours,
yep,
so I can go in whenever. Sometimes I go in at 5, so I get out early.
yeah, 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 yeah,
But like with everything else, I'm fine. Trying to get through college.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Just one more year, and
Are
then
you
boom.
still playing soccer? Are you still doing like some of your hobbies and stuff? Like, what are some things that you're still doing outside of like the work stuff?
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now, I'm still playing basketball with my friends. Soccer, not that much. I do a lot more hands-on, like electrical projects.
Yeah,
So I'm designing. I guess you can say. I don't know if you've seen Interstellar, but I've seen TARS.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
design
yeah.
that on my own. So I'm using a microcontroller, some different servo motors, different kinds of electrical components to design that.
Right, right, right. No, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I know we're gonna talk a little bit about this when we like reflect a little bit about the past, but I'm really interested to hear how you got into electrical engineering or just engineering in general, because I know in the past that's not necessarily something you talked about, which is fine because you were only 12 years old when you're talking about like the different things that you were doing. But before we talk about like how you got into engineering, let's talk a little bit about the past and focus a little bit around like first impressions, like when you first came to BP as a sixth grader. So, like I said, Tovar was there in my second year, but I consider anybody who comes after that a part of my family of students. And so, tell me a little bit about first impressions of like the situation of me, of BP, and like, did you want to be there? Did you not want to be there? Like, what was the vibes for your first day when you came to this new school?
Yeah. So the first day, I hated it. I didn't want to move because I went to a school in a little village
Yep.
called Maria Salcedo.
Yep.
All my friends there, and then abruptly, just my mom told me I'm moving to this school,
Hmm.
um, which I didn't like because I had to meet new people, talk to new people, make new friends. And some first impressions I saw the first day was that you were very outgoing.
Hmm.
You had your like, colorful shirt, you had
Yeah,
your
yeah,
tie,
yeah, yeah.
your jacket. It was like 80-degree weather, I think, and it was super hot. I know deep down you were struggling. You were
I was
definitely struggling.
struggling. I was struggling. I always struggle with heat. I'm not good with heat. And also, it's funny because when you talked about you not wanting to be there, I could tell. Like that's why I could tell like immediately when you were there, like you didn't want to be there. What other thoughts did you have when you were like starting the new school with us?
I just I guess the uniform. I didn't like the uniform. You had to wear like a white shirt. So I wear the vest, and then you had to wear a tie. That was too. That was
Right,
too much.
right. Did you have to wear a tie in Salcedo or no?
No, it was just like you had like our uniform, like our
Yep.
gym uniform, but like I can't remember, but we can probably wear whatever we wanted.
Right. Okay. And then also, when you got there, were you the only student from your last school that came to that class that year? Or was there somebody else that you had there?
No, I was brand new. I think I never met anyone from Salcedo there.
Okay. And what about Karen?
Karen?
Was she in Salcedo also?
Oh yeah, Karen and Carol. Yeah, my nieces. Yeah,
Yeah, because like you were both in the same class
yeah,
with
that's
me,
true.
which was I thought really funny too. What about your first impressions outside of me? Like, did you think that I was mean? I was nice? I was like, what was your thoughts going through that?
So when I first met you, I thought you were super friendly. You were introducing yourself to everyone,
Hmm.
and which was like, oh, that's nice of you. But like, I was not used to that. Like the person like going up saying hi, how's it going, how's your
Right,
summer, stuff
right.
like that. So yeah, that was very surprising. I guess surprising for me because I never experienced that at my other school.
Yeah. It's funny, and I always think about this, particularly with you. I always thought in the beginning that you hated my ass. Like in the beginning part, because like, and here's my perception. You can tell me if I was wrong on this part. Because you were so much taller than everyone else,
Mm.
like you were huge. You were definitely taller
Yeah.
than me. And the majority of the kids in the class were short.
Mm.
And I had most of my former kids were in the other homeroom, but like I had a few of them in mine, and they were like not even half your size, like maybe even shorter. And so I always wondered, like, how did that play in your mind when you got there? Did that affect you at all when you saw that, like, well, I'm like the tallest and everybody else is shorter? Like, did that play with you a little bit?
Yes and no, because in my old school, I had the same thing.
Hmm.
I was one of my friends were like the short ones, so it was always different. I got used to it. Like moving to the new school, it was the same process, But this time, I would have to make new friends,
Right,
talk
right,
to new people.
right.
Which for my last school, I was with them since kindergarten, so
Mm.
that's a much big gap. Big,
Yeah. And so that's why I said like too, because when you were in our classes or when you were in my class, you didn't want to do anything.
yeah.
That was like my remembrance in the beginning was like, damn. I called you Juan back then. I didn't call you Tovar until like
Yeah.
probably halfway. But in the beginning, I was like, this big kid is coming up in this room. He doesn't want to do anything. And no matter how many times I tried to push you to write something or do something, you didn't want to do it. And so
Right.
I was just like, damn, I think he hates me. Like, I think he hated me all the way through, or at least in the first couple months.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember this, but I coached soccer for a hot second. So Coach Matthews was the main coach, and then I was like the little a side coach, but I went because all the boys in my class were in this on the soccer team. And so it was like you, Junior, Vargas, like all of you guys were there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna show up. And Roberto,
Yeah.
I was gonna show up so that I could get to know you all so that we can have a better relationship in the classroom because you were not trying to do shit. Like you were not trying to pick up nothing. So, do you remember any of those parts?
Yeah. So I guess one big main factor that I remember was probably where I was not doing anything one day, and then you told me I had to stay after school.
Yes.
Yeah, school
I know
for
where
that.
you're going. Okay, keep going.
And then I didn't want to. I remember you had to. I told you. You told me to call my mom saying I have to stay after school to do some homework, and she was like, "Oh, okay," because it was not very normal for that. So she was kind of iffy, but then she let me do it, and then throughout that whole time, for me, it was like detention.
Yep.
It's actually doing work, but like at some point, I was like, "What am I doing here? I'm not." I didn't really care, so I was like looking at the clock most of the time, seeing hurry up, like see if it goes faster if I look at it.
Right.
But when I was like look down, it was like maybe 10 seconds past. Like
Right.
give me a long.
Right. And I don't know if you remember this because this is one of my actually favorite moments with you was when you did stay after school, you did look at the clock and then I said to you, the clock doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you. Like you're not going anywhere, so stop looking at the clock. And then you said Yeah. And then you said, I don't care, or something to the effect, I'm pretty sure you said I don't give a fuck. But I we had like an argument. Like
Yeah.
we were going back and forth that day or after school. And it actually changed because it wasn't like a full argument. What I remember was just after you said that, I kind of like had a conversation with you about like your leadership and your potential and how much all that other stuff. And I felt like after that moment that you changed a little bit because I wouldn't say that after, because this is not some kind of like fairy tale where I talked to Tovar for a hot second and then all of a sudden he does his work for the rest of the 3 years that he was there. It was like you changed, like you actually started trying after that. Like I gave you a little bit of credit. Like I felt like you were like doing more, you were reading more. I wouldn't say that you were doing it every day, but like it was better than when you first got there and you weren't touching a thing. Do you remember that part of the that conversation?
I remember, and then it was like, because I know you were. So I was in a table, right? And then you were at your like a round table,
Yep.
and then you had two students there. You were
Yep.
teaching them,
Right.
and I was like right here, and then you were like right behind me, so I had to turn my head left,
Right.
and then we were just arguing back and forth. And then you called me over at one
Right.
point, and
Right.
then we were just talking, and then I can't remember exactly what happened at the end, but we were just talking for that little period of time, and then I think the next day I was like I said hi or something like that to you, just like
Right.
'cause I never did that before.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was, I always, whenever people ask me my moments, I always talk about that story with you because that one was very memorable for me in terms of like, how do you kind of like change, not even change a situation, like how do you get people to get motivated? I know reading was not your favorite subject. Reading or writing, it probably still isn't, which is funny. Actually, now that you're in like engineering and science, I'm like, that makes more sense to me. Like, because when you definitely did not want to read those books and you definitely did not want to do the writing. But what I will say, and I still give you credit for it now, because like even when we talk back and forth, you do actually like your ideas and all the things that you're doing. I like to call them intellectual. Like we can have deep conversations about society. We can have
Mm.
deep conversations about what you're doing. And so I always knew that you had it in you. It's just that you didn't want to like do the thing. You know, like it's okay. Like now that we think about it now, like those things are just dots of what happened in middle school and those and like now like you're actually like talking and doing the big things because like in electrical engineering, I'm sure we had like a conversation about like what you want to do in the future. You have it in there. So I think that's the clock situation was always one of my favorites. I think about that with a couple of other ones. What are some other moments in middle school that stood out to you, like that were memorable to you?
Uh, Probably there was one moment where I think we were at I think DC at one point. So we were walking around. It was for our seventh grade. I
Yep.
think yeah, seventh grade field trip. We were walking around and then we saw some firefighters.
Yeah.
And then he had some big holes. And then you said I said you thought I said some other words and you're like you were calling me out on it. It's like don't say it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I remember that. But I was super. I still think about it sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, look at those big holes. And it was like, what?
Yeah, right. But you know what's funny though is that I think that's why I call you comical is because you can like slide those things in there
Yeah.
and get away with it because one, it's funny, and two, you were kind of half trying it in certain situations. But I remember that one too. I always, and this is another thing that I really appreciated about you from middle school, and you can tell me your thought around this too. Like, do you remember when we went to New York City? There was a situation that somebody bought something off Chinatown. Like they were buying some things out of Chinatown.
Yeah.
No one would tell me who did it and what they bought.
Some kind of book bag or something like.
Yes, it was like in a book bag and it was actually like a weed crusher. And it was
Oh.
like all those things. But let me just tell you something about Tovar that I appreciated during the 3 years. So Tovar was a little bit of my mole. Like Tovar.
Call me out.
Yeah, because I am calling him out, but now it's over. You guys are adults now,
Yeah.
so hopefully nobody gets mad. But um, Tovar, after especially the clock situation, this is why I said that I felt like we were good after that, because every time there was something bad, I could always turn to you and be like, "Tell me who did it, like what happened or whatever," and then I would pretend that you didn't tell me.
Hmm.
So thing that happened in New York, the thing that was really funny about that was you told me, you probably don't remember this, but you told me who did it and where it was. But then you said, now we have to pretend like we're fighting. So we were like downstairs in the like dinner or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you had already told me, but when we were down there, you started fake arguing with me. Like, I don't know who did it. I don't know why the fuck you're telling me that I know who did it. And then you walked away and I walked away, but I already
Yeah.
knew who did it because you told me. But I always tell that story to people where I'm like, yeah, like he was the one who like kept me in touch with like what was happening, but we just pretended like all those things. So like I always appreciated that I was in the loop of what happened and there were many times that you said something to me where I was able to prevent something from happening because I knew ahead of time because you told me. So I appreciate that. I never had any other mole like you and another student in a different school. So like I really appreciated that moment. And you have one more memory that stood out to you, which was graduation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was kind of I guess like an emotional moment seeing how where we started and to the end. So
Hmm.
it was like the end of a chapter
Yep.
at one point of our lives, especially saying goodbye to you, to the two other professors, or sorry, all the professors that I had,
Yeah, yeah,
or teachers, sorry, not
yeah,
professors, teachers.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but saying goodbye to them, especially all my friends, because I probably won't ever see them again.
Right.
Everyone's doing their own path, everyone's going their own way. So I guess for that like day or so, it was good to have some closure, like say goodbye to them, say all goodbye to your professors, teachers, sorry,
Yeah, yeah, no, you can call professors.
professors, and then yeah. So I think that was very impactful moment for me. I
Yeah.
guess you could say.
Yeah. I was gonna say, to like your graduation, probably for me, obviously was the most emotional because I had y'all the longest.
Mhm.
I've also seen you grow from, well, not you specifically, but everybody was like 9 or 10 years old. You were 11 or 12. And so to have you to 13 and 14 was really good. One thing that I was really proud of, and I know we're going to talk about this later, is your high school experience because I got to see a little bit of your high school experience on Instagram,
Yeah,
how you grew there. And so we'll get to that in a minute. Two lessons you learned from middle school. So give me one first.
it'll be that any student is smart. They just need someone to believe in them.
And tell me like why was that a lesson for you? Like talk a little bit about your experience.
So for me, like going through my other elementary school, what it was like, I just coasted through. Some professors didn't really care.
Yep.
So I felt like I was not that smart because none of them
Mhm.
believed in me. At one point, there was like, oh, okay, just do some work, boom, 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 boom. But then when I went to Uno, I know how you were always like pushing me to do something, and then okay, maybe I'm smart because I'm doing this on my own. Sometimes I'm just working on it, and so that was probably a big lesson I learned is that any kid can be smart. You just need someone to believe in them.
Right. And I felt like too, um, you did tell me early on that you felt like you weren't smart, and I felt like I had to continue pushing you on all of those things. You did, and I talked about this with some other students. You did write a 10 to 15 page research paper in sixth grade. You definitely did it. I remember it. Everybody did it. Like you totally did it. And I actually also have a letter that you wrote me in sixth grade. I'll send it to you on the side.
Yeah,
You wrote me a really nice letter in sixth grade, and then you wrote me another one in eighth grade. I have both of them in like a binder. And so I'll send that to you after when this is over. But it talks a little bit about like your experience and whatnot. Were you gonna say something?
yeah. I was just thinking about how much grammar errors are going to be in that letter right now.
But you know what? When I got the letter, I remember I made this as a joke, but I was like, this is the most he's ever written without me telling him to write something. Like I was like, because in the past it was like doing all those things. But I personally like the grammar errors and all that stuff is like whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like it's just like, having the ideas. Okay, great. So that's the first one. And then what was your second lesson?
I guess one lesson I learned is that no matter the struggles you're going through, at the end of the day, it will pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, entering into sixth grade, sixth grade, I knew I was struggling when it comes to reading, math, science, because I was not really I was not like forced, like pushed into that like my old school. Like
Right.
I didn't really learn that much, I guess you can say. But I knew the struggles I faced will help me become the person I am today.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say I am very grateful for those struggles
Right.
because without those, I think I wouldn't have been as an electrical engineer,
Right. Right. Right.
studying electrical engineering.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm like again, like it's so great to see your path go through. I'm definitely sending this to Miss Shannon because Miss Shannon does
And
ask
it's
about you. Me and Miss Shannon did the double 1-2 with you sometimes,
yeah,
and then sometimes Miss Martinez would join in. It's 1-2-3. So it's just it was great. Like during that time period, I will definitely send her that part. Now, here is where I'm excited about because I don't know as much about your high school experience, obviously, as I do as your middle school experience. And you did go to Phoenix
yeah.
Military Academy. So tell people, like, talk about like your experience in high school. Like, well, after leaving BP and graduating, what was your high school experience like for you?
I was actually kind of excited going to high school, meeting new people because I
Hmm.
did it once already. So I think I could have done this again.
Yeah.
So it was good, especially going to military school. Because at
Yeah.
one point I wanted to go to the military, but it was not strict how I expected a military school to be.
Really?
They were very lean back on it.
Okay.
Yeah, so they didn't really enforce like the military aspect rules of the school.
Right.
So that was eye opening. It was especially good to my friends nowadays. I'm at a high school. I'm still
Right.
with the friends now. So
Good.
I guess that the lessons I learned is that you can make a lifetime friends,
Mm.
no matter how young you are, I guess you can
Right.
say.
Right. Right.
Um, and especially like I did play sports there. I did do other things.
Yeah.
I did do color guard. It was not like the flag ones. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
more the military version where you just so four people walking together simultaneously, and then we doing some I guess you can say marching
Right. 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 Right.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
Especially meeting new professors there, meeting new teachers there.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was kind of
Is
lessons I learned.
color is color guard the one with the fake guns?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what.
because that's the one I saw. I remember at like you had posted it, and I was like, "Damn, Tovar is like out there doing the damn thing."
Yeah,
That like were you like one of the only people who were chosen to do that part, or like that like was part of a team? Did you do competitions and things?
yeah, we do competitions, and so what? There was a leader, XO, so XO is like second in command, and then there's two riflemen. So I was the
Mm,
XO. So when the leader the leader wasn't there, I would like doing the marching and stuff. So it was four of us there, and it was more like you could sign up and join,
right.
but at the end, they'll pick who did the best marching, who was giving orders correctly, and stuff like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember seeing that in like a different movie. And like I'm curious about like when you started as a freshman there, did you have to be there early? Like was
Yeah.
it like 5 a.m. or something, or was it like later?
So we had formation at 6:30,
Okay.
so I had to be there at 6 a.m. So
Damn.
during those 30 minutes, I'll be training every day,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of a struggle sometimes waking up 6 a.m. and then I would sometimes have to take the bus. And it was like in the west side of Chicago. I live in the south, so I just take one bus, but it was super long.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it had perks, especially when I went to competitions to see if
Right.
we actually did good and stuff. So to see how our training paid off.
Right. Right, right, right. Did that make you an early person?
Yeah, I'm a very early person
I
early person.
can tell you're an early person. I
Yeah,
sent you a message this morning. I was like, oh, he's not going to answer till later. It's fine. And you responded in 10 minutes. And I
yeah,
was like, damn, Tovar, an early. Because again, when you were in middle school, when you walked in at 8 o'clock or 8:30, you were not like, you were just not there yet.
yeah,
It took you till about 10. So I'm assuming the military school like helped you become a morning person. I'm assuming you're a morning person in college.
yeah. I'm a very morning person because especially when you have those 8 a.m. Math classes,
Mm.
you have to be a morning person to take those classes.
Right. Oh, in college, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you all the kids that I talked to before, did they talked about all-nighters? Did you do that?
yeah. I done a lot of those.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've done a lot of those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Does it affect you? Like, are you tired as shit? Like, that's what I thought is that you were just tired.
So at one point, I felt like the all nighters were useless.
Hmm.
So at first, like for my first 2 years in college, I did them, especially for me in exams, or we had to do like some big projects that were due. What I do is buy a bunch of Rockstars energies
Mm.
or Starbucks, or drink some Starbucks during that time. And so, yeah, it was definitely a struggle. And then I've noticed that doing all nighters, sometimes you'll miss that grade you wanted.
Right, 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 right. Yes,
Yeah,
I will say it's so I like when every time someone talks about all-nighters, and that's why I brought it up, was I'm curious if you did it too. I'm sorry to tell y'all, if you continue to do it, you guys should stop. Because by the time you hit late 20s, now I think I already texted you this yesterday, like I'm already in bed at 9. Because
yeah,
like I've wasted all my energy in my lower 20s trying to pull these fake all-nighters and still get a D. To see, and then now it's like caught up to me. So all of you should stop. Stop the all-nighters. Go to bed. Who cares? What are so we talked a little bit about now that high school experience, and then I'm curious, like, what were name two of those lessons that impacted you while you were in your high school years?
yeah. So one of the main lessons will probably be a time management.
Mm,
That now that you're not there, or any of the teachers that I had during middle school were not going to be there to help me.
hmm.
I had to do this on my own. And so what I do sometimes come home from school, take a little rest, and do my homework.
Yep.
And so I knew that time management was really key, especially because sometimes in high school they give us a deadline of do this paper or do this homework by this day. And so what I do is make sure I plan my week ahead.
Right.
Okay, what am I going to do this week? What am I going to do next week? And stuff like that.
Right. Which is funny because you did not use your planner.
Yeah, I did it.
When he was in middle school, we had planners, and Tovar did not touch his planner. His planner is always in his desk. You would look inside the desk, and there it is,
Yeah,
his planner. So that's funny, that time management. But I will say, high school is a whole different beast when it comes to trying to like deal with time management. And then college, it's its own different beast because like you have other things in it because you're like in also different clubs, right?
yeah.
um in college. What sports did you play in high school outside of color? Um
So I played football, and then I did. That's basically what I did. Play football. I didn't really do anything else after, and color guard, uh, and also did drill.
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
did drill as well.
This is all coming together. Okay. Did you do football in college?
No, I didn't do a football college.
Did you try out?
I didn't think my school didn't have open tryouts.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
'Cause I think
Because
like most of them
yeah,
are scholarship.
I remember when you came in to our school, everybody wanted you in every sport.
Yeah,
They wanted you in basketball, they wanted you in football, they wanted you. You did do flag football. I have a picture. I think you were
yeah,
in.
yeah. I don't know. I'm doing flag
Yeah.
football.
So that's really good that you continued sports all the way through. And then your second lesson, which is about the engineering stuff. So I'm really excited to hear this part. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there was one professor I knew in high school that was teaching engineering,
Mm,
and it was my junior year, my beginning of my junior year, and so we didn't have any like that kind of stuff. So I wanted to take it. See, it would be interesting. So
right,
what I did, I took the class. We learned a lot. I learned a lot of AutoCAD stuff, which is you can design things on a computer.
right.
And so after taking that class, I started doing more and more. Then I took another class my senior year was engineering.
Mm,
So I was just, and then sometimes I would just talk to my teacher sometimes after class was done, pick his brains about his experience of what kind of branching of engineering there are, and then which one was his favorite and why.
right.
And so after that, I think after that we just became closer too,
Yep.
because I still talk to him,
Good, good, good. Yep.
and so so I guess from learning his experience was very good for me.
Right. And so you saw engineering differently than what that you had seen before. Because I know we talked a little bit about there was a period of time I remember you were interested in Quantico in
Yeah, at one point.
Virginia. And then there was a period of time that you were very interested in NASA.
Mhm.
So with this high school experience with the engineering, and you took two classes of engineering,
Yeah, I took two.
listen, that's unique. Most schools don't even have an engineering class. I think that's really cool that Phoenix Military Academy had that. And I'm also glad to hear that they didn't enforce the military like stuff because there was another student that went to a military school and he did not have a great experience over there. But it wasn't like about the classes and all that stuff too. So that's really good. Um, how has engineering, like as you started in college and now you're almost about to finish, he's graduating next year, everyone. Um, how has your passion for engineering changed, or did it change? Like, was there periods of time where you were like, I don't know if I want to do this, and you wanted to switch? Like, how was your growth in that experience with engineering?
So at one point, I thought about dropping out of
Mhm.
engineering after I was taking a class called quantum physics.
Yeah. Oh.
So that class was like, what am I doing? I was
Yeah.
studying quantum physics for electrical engineering
Right.
major. Maybe it's not for me.
Yeah.
And so throughout, what I did was I told myself just remember things you did in middle school and
Hmm.
how it shapes you to be who you are. I took
Mm,
that lesson from middle school and put it in my college life, saying, I know you're struggling for the next couple months, but try your hardest and see at the end it's going to be worth it when you get that A.
right. Right.
Or,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
when you get that A.
Right. The my other question is because I actually heard this from everybody that I've spoken to so far. Was there, aside from, I know you're talking about dropping out of engineering and trying something else, were there periods of points in not high school, in college, where you were like, I don't want this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And this was something like I'd rather just go back home because I've also experienced talking to a lot of your classmates and I also had that experience. And you know this because I talked about this when you were little. There was a point where I dropped out of nursing school and then I just didn't want to do it anymore. I almost like didn't finish, but I just kept going and I was just like, let's just see what happens. So I'm curious, like, did you have something similar to that in college where you were like, I don't know if this is the right thing?
Yeah, so at one point, one semester, I didn't get financial aid that much.
Mm,
So at one point, I told my dad or told my parents that even if I take a gap year to see what happens, I could probably work, get some
mm,
money,
mm,
and they come back the next semester. Then, but my dad told me that if you take a gap year or a gap semester, that you're not gonna come back.
mm,
And so what I did is stick it out, um, take out some loans, everything. I fully paid for it, so I'm kind of happy about that.
yeah.
Fully paid for that, and so that was really a big factor was money, and especially like being homesick at one point.
Mm,
Homesick, especially being in DeKalb, which is it's not that far from Chicago, but like
right,
it's away from your family.
right.
So like that was a big factor as well.
And was that a different experience for you, like getting out of Chicago? Like, what was that experience like for you being outside of Chicago?
Yeah, so it was kind of eye opening because I didn't know there were a bunch of cornfields in Illinois. Kind of cornfields out there,
Yeah.
and especially in DeKalb, there's like really nothing to do over there.
Hmm.
Most of them go to like the bars and stuff, but like for me, I never was never interested in that stuff.
Yep.
I was always in my dorm or just like hanging out with some friends.
Yep.
So that was very eye opening, I guess you can say.
Yeah. And I'm sure like too, like I feel like Chicago is such a, I mean, it's a large city, but we talk about in middle school, it was predominantly Latinx kids, students. I don't know what the demographics were for Phoenix military was, and I'm sure like again, it was different when you went to the city outside of there and then you have to like adapt to that. I know because and this doesn't matter, but I'm just curious from your perspective too. Did you do 5-year program?
Yeah, I did five.
Okay. The 5-year and that was engineering, like the double. Are you doing a double or is it just engineering?
Just engineering.
Oh wow. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you like took your time on that. Because some people I and you know it's I'm glad your dad gave you that advice. That is some key advice where he was just like, keep going. I always tell people if they want to take a gap year, they should take a gap year. But I also get worried that when they do the gap year, they get too comfortable, and they don't want to do it anymore. And I can relate because I took a gap year from teaching in 2021. I stopped teaching in 2021 and I never went back. I might go back this fall.
Okay, that's good.
Well,
That's
we'll
good.
see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. But I after I took a gap year, I didn't come back to that. So I think that's really key. That's great advice from dad.
Yeah.
Tell dad I said that was a good one. That was a
Yeah.
good one. Okay, two more things, and then we're gonna talk about the questions you have for me.
Yeah.
We already talked about like what you're doing right now. So tell me, what are you passionate about? Like, what are some things that you really care about in today's world, in your work, all of those things.
So for me, it's always going to be getting more knowledge from different things, different
Mm,
aspects of life. I always wanted to get just having knowledge that not a lot of people have. So that's a very important thing for me, especially family.
mm,
I'm here where I am today because of them and all my friends and everyone that I met in my life.
right.
Now, I feel like at this point now, it's my turn to give some of it, some of their sacrifice back to them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Are you first gen?
First year in college, yeah.
Yeah. All of you are first gen, by the
Yeah.
way. So, like, shout out to all of you. Like, you guys are crushing it. Um, in terms of like engineering, what is your passions within engineering and what do you want to do with that?
I eventually want to learn, I really want to get into power systems and software.
Mm,
I really want to work with electrical grids and designing my own and software when it comes to like control systems.
yeah,
That's something I'm very interested in, embedded systems.
yeah.
Eventually, and I want to make my own company consulting.
Mm,
Sometimes companies will hire me out, and then what I do is fix their problem for them.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's something like a consulting thing. And then I eventually want to get my master's. I'm not sure in what exactly. It could be MBA or master's in engineering,
Right.
and then probably get a FE license and a PE license.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's FE is like a federal engineer, I
Yep.
guess you could say,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then a PE is a professional engineer.
Right.
And so
You,
with the PE, I can get a consulting firm.
okay, great. Do you want to do workforce first, then go to school, or do you want to do more school and then go into the workforce?
I'll probably workforce because most companies pay for your master's. So I want to find a company that pay for it.
That's
I mean,
it. That's it. Please, guys, do not go in. I'm in a lot of debt from
mm,
all the degrees that I got, and I should have done like exactly what you said. Like, you want to work for a place that's going to be able to pay for your master's for you to get your master's. So yes. All of it's so funny because like all of you guys are doing the things that I did not do. And so it's great that you got that advice. Good. All right. So before we get to the last part about future, you have two questions for me. And
yeah.
you can ask two of those questions. Start with the first one, I'll answer it, and then you can ask me the second one.
All right. So were there a time you saw potential in us that you didn't see in yourself? And if so, how did you try to bring that out?
Great. I think Carlos asked this question in his episode, and the way that I answered it, and I'm going to say this in reflection to you, because I'm going to talk about
Mm,
you at that time. Of course, like I think as a teacher, I everyone has potential. You said it earlier in the episode. You said that one thing that you learned is that every kid is smart.
mm,
Everybody has their own like one thing that I felt like maybe I didn't do this well when I was your teacher, but I think everybody thought intelligence and smartness was grades. But I know I was good at this. Okay, you can have the best grades in the class, like that's fine. Like, however, there are other aspects in life that help translate like to who you are. And so that's where you come in as like a very good example. When you came in, you didn't want to do work. And that was like one thing that I felt like I had to bring out of you. Not
mm,
that you had to do work, that you could do the work. Because like you said, like you talked a little bit about how like your brain was like kind of like, oh, I'm not that smart. But the thing is that you're brilliant. Me and Miss Shannon talked about this all the time. We would like sit after school and we would talk. Cause you didn't also do math work, by the way.
yeah.
It was a lot of the classes. Like you just like it was. I think it was a different experience for you that like you were coming and there was all this work that you had to do. But me and Miss Shannon would sit in her classroom or my classroom. Miss Martinez would join in the conversation too, and we would talk about like Tovar's smart. Like he has it. He just like doesn't like want to show it. I don't know what it is like with the other kids, but I thought that the best way to bring the potential out of you in particular was leadership. Um, Allowing you to be the leader that you are, because you are. And it's funny because now I look at your overall growth journey, and you're here now saying that you're about to be an engineer and you're going to be making you bank
Yeah,
when you
hopefully.
leave. It's like, exactly. Like, it just makes me so happy to see that you had that growth. You figured it out yourself too.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you had struggles and you just kind of like pushed yourself through. And so, the way that I brought it out with you in particular was like, I thought we had that one clock argument in sixth grade.
Yeah.
And I felt like we had like stuff here and there in seventh and eighth grade where I was like, bro, like, we already been through this. We're not doing this again. But I didn't have an issue with you. Sometimes you had issues with other teachers, but I didn't have an issue with you for the rest of your time because I
Yeah.
felt like I understood you and you understood me. And I was just like, okay, I just like made sure you did your work.
Yeah.
That was just my thing with you in particular. And so, um, in terms of like answering your question, um, plenty of times. You are a very good example of this. I'm very proud of the things that you're doing, and I'll save that at the end of the episode. But I brought it out of you by like reminding you that you have it and that you're a leader. All right, what's the second question?
Second question. All right. Yeah, I don't know which one to pick. I picked three of them.
Yeah, do the last one.
Last one. All right. So, be honest. Put you on the spot. Who's your favorite student of all of us?
I knew, so guys, he sent me this question, and I knew he was going to ask this question because this is such a Tovar question. Um, I truly thought, so this is, I'm going to do a cop out answer. I really loved your class. And
Mhm.
I like your particular class. I feel like I fail as a teacher in other places because I expect every class to be like yours. Like we were just good. Like it was just like such a great experience for me. Um, I really loved every student, and I hope every student felt that, where I wanted the best for every single one of them. Now, did some students get more attention than others? Yes, because some students needed it more, and some students don't want attention. Like that's another thing. Is like some students want to be left alone, and that's fine with them too. And so the way that I would answer that question is like, I feel like, of course, like in front of everybody, like students are, every student will get the best from me because I want everyone to do the best that they can.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't say that I had a favorite student. I had favorite classes. Like your class is one. Carol's class.
Mhm.
Is she a year under you?
Yeah.
Carol's class is also, I really love that class.
Mhm.
Carol's eighth grade homeroom. She was in my homeroom in eighth grade. I loved that class a lot. And also like her general class was really good too. So great question, but I don't have like a single answer. But I knew that was going to be a Tovar question.
Yeah.
That's just a Tovar question. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for asking questions.
I think like a couple of weeks ago, I was like going through my phone, looking at my photos, and then I saw my eighth grade graduation photo, the one I
Mm,
made a face with.
yeah.
Like that was the best, probably the best photo ever taken.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yes, that one.
Yeah.
Do I wish I think I still have that photo. The eighth grade
Yeah. It was just
grad
me and then
photo.
like my face making a face about it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. If you have it, send it to me.
Yeah.
I think I have it though, because every time it pops up, I laugh. But I'll look for it. But if I don't have it, I'll text you for it. And
Yeah.
but that was the best photo. You're right. It was the best, and it was iconic too. I think I'm gonna cut that photo out and I'll put it in my office. Like I'll like leave it right there. That's a great memory. Okay, so the last part of this is like just talking about your future.
Yeah.
Um, so first, talk about what are your hopes and dreams for yourself.
So for me, my hopes and dreams to eventually start my own company, either in consulting or trucking,
Mm,
because I always wanted to make my own train company. With my dad, it's like a family-owned train company.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My brothers and my dad.
Hmm.
That's one goal. Another goal would probably be getting my master's and then eventually starting or a consulting firm as well.
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting for me. And then eventually, I really want to move to Texas.
Wait, you say that again?
I want to move to Texas eventually.
Oh, Texas?
Yeah.
Yes, fix that power grid down there.
Yeah,
They
it's
have a
pretty bad right
terrible
now.
power grid. So like you fix that power grid down there. That's a good goal.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
really want to do that, and eventually find my way into motor racing.
Okay. Ooh, okay. I could see that for you.
Yeah,
Definitely see that. Good. Outside of work, so outside of like your career stuff, what are some other like hopes and dreams you have for yourself?
just to be a better person.
Mm,
Always find a way to improve myself, and always to give back to people that needed it.
right, right, right,
Because I had great opportunities and a privilege to meet all these people, but there's some kids that out there that are not. There's some kids that are not going to meet the teachers that I met and the experiences I experienced, and how it changed me to who I am.
right, right, right.
Some, some kids and some people are not going to experience that,
Yeah.
and they're going to that what their experience they have is going to lead to the wrong path. So my job is to find a way to reach out to more people and saying, hey, there's you might be struggling now, but if you go this way, if you do this, you're going to find something better that you never thought of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I open a school, or if I open a school, you're invited to
Yeah.
give a speech to every single kid there about your experience because that would be so good. What are your hopes and dreams for your community?
Is right now to be united,
Say
the
again.
struggle to be united,
Mm-hmm.
especially now at this point in this time,
Yeah,
how the world is right now, is to always be there for another person if they need it and they ask for it. Sometimes they don't ask for it, but just let them know that you're always going to be there for them.
right, right, right.
So that's probably one thing I want for my communities to have, just to be more united and to have, I guess you could say, to know that no matter no matter where you look, there's always going to be someone there for you.
Right, right,
If you
right,
look left or right, there's always going to be someone there for you.
right. Good. And then the last one is what are your hopes and dreams for the world?
Peace. That's the main factor. Peace, especially peace nowadays, and kindness. We're missing that. We're lacking that now.
Mm,
Kindness, uh, and also to be united.
right,
That's
right,
the thing we were lacking on for the last couple of years,
right.
and that's pushing us away. So I think that's what I want for the world is to be united, and especially, mm,
You can say it. Say whatever you want to say.
pick the right people for the job.
Mm, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah,
It's crazy because, all the stuff that's happening now,
yeah,
um, it's like that happened when you were in middle school. Like
yeah. I remember.
that time period,
Uh,
this time period are all parallel to each other.
mm.
And so it's so interesting to just see like all of your perspectives now, as adults versus when you were in seventh and eighth grade. And so like to hear it, it's like, you're right. Yep. Okay, so the last part is you're going to read a letter which
Mhm.
you wrote to yourself, which is um think about your younger self, so younger one, who by the way, everyone, he looks exactly the same that he looks like when he was in middle school. Like this, like there's no change. Like everybody else, it's like, oh, everyone's changed. Tovar looks exactly the same. So he's thinking about your younger self.
Mm.
What advice would you give younger Juan Tovar? What would you want to say? And say it as if you're saying it to yourself.
So if I could talk to myself, I'll tell them to not be afraid to ask questions when it feels scary, but curiosity is a strength, not a weakness. And I'll remind myself to it's okay to not have everything figured out yet. But what matters is mostly trying new things and learn from the journey.
Mm,
Being a Mexican American kid from Chicago is something to be proud of. It gives you a powerful voice and a perspective that most people don't have. And it doesn't if it doesn't feel that way, I say feeling it, and also if it doesn't always feel that way, I'll say that failing a test or struggling in school doesn't mean you're not smart. It means you're not. It means you're growing.
mm.
Surround yourself with people that who believe in you, but also own, be your own biggest believer
Yeah.
when no one else sees your vision. And don't forget to take breaks, take care of your mind, and rest is a part of success. And most of all, keep going and let where you're coming from motivate you. And yeah,
Nice. definitely younger one would want to hear that from
Yeah,
particularly. You're, I think you would be a great role model for people, and I'm excited for when I do have my own school one day.
yeah.
I will definitely invite you back. So
Can't
thank
wait.
you so much, Tovar, for being a part of this podcast. I am so proud of the work that you're doing. I'm excited to see where your journey goes from here. And I might invite you back for another season when you're all getting into the work stuff. So thank you again so much for being a part of this.
Thanks for having me.